So you are right, and that is what let us understand the objective, the purpose of this act of ibadah and its legal status and the true nature of this act of ibadah as far as Sharia is concerned. It's a very recommended, highly recommended sunnah, very strongly recommended sunnah. It carries rewards and it has so many important dimensions, as I mentioned, the social aspect, the economic and the financial aspect. But it is not a mandatory act of ibadah, and therefore you don't have to even some of the mandatory act of ibadah, like you see sometimes an act of ibadah which is mandatory, but because one cannot do it, it's waived.
It's waived.
Or one is not required to go beyond the
zakat. If you don't have the means, you don't have to give it out.
Good.
So it is mandatory. On some people, Hajj too is the same.
Fasting, if somebody is serious and sick, he cannot fast.
You know,
and therefore it is very important that we understand it, this Aisha. Yeah.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our role model, and we all know that his life was immeasurably pierced by his generosity, helping the poor and the needy at all times. Which of course is a good thing. In Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Innamal mu'minuna ikhwatun." All Muslims are but a single brotherhood. So during this Tobaski also, like Islam urges us to exemplify the virtues of love, care, and compassion. I mean, it's a time, like you said, some people can afford to buy, others cannot afford because it's not something that is mandatory. So how can Muslims be more vigilant in assisting one another during this time, showing the virtues of love, care, and compassion, like in Surah Al-Ali Imran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Lan tanalul birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibun." By no means shall ye attain righteousness unless you give freely what you want. Because there are some people, especially the jollers and the fullers, when they buy their rams, it's like they just want to eat everything. They don't even want to assist some of the poor and the needy. That's what I want you to touch on. Enumerate on the need to assist one another during this time.
In fact, Aisha, caring and sharing is a typical characteristic of society in Islamic civilization. And the Muslim community is characterized by this very important phenomenon of caring and sharing. Not only during Tobaski or Ramadan, although
it should be at all times.
Yes, at all times.
Especially around
Muslims
this time,
are seen to be very
so that
generous.
the poor and the needy will not feel isolated.
Exactly.
They are isolated.
Exactly. Muslims are seen to be very generous and very caring in the past, even now, throughout. But you are right. The month of Ramadan and this particular moment also is these are unique moments on the Islamic calendar, and therefore we need to remember the poor and the needy, the have-nots more than ever before. As I said, because of the pressure of the family at home, and because of the strong impact of the social dimension of this activity, those of us that cannot afford it are always comfortable, not comfortable. They are not comfortable at all, and the pressure on them is very hard. It's very hard, and therefore it is strongly advisable that those who can afford it, let them remember those who cannot afford it. It is not though said that you have to buy one for each poor person, or you have to buy a whole ram and give it to the poor in the community. The single one that you have, you can share part of the meat with them. In fact, the tradition is that you share the meat into 3 portions, eat one, give them one, and then the other one you can keep it for some time. And we have here this tradition is reversed. The way we do it here is that we only share with those who share theirs with us.
Exactly.
You know, when you slaughter your ram,
you also give me back. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
The poor are there.
They are there. They are not there. So there must be that portion must be given to the poor. And Muslims also remember that, Islam has simplified this act of ibadah, beginning with the ram, and the minimum requirement is one which is not even up to 1 year. There's a 10 months. In fact, some of them said a ram which is as old as 6 months. Some of the Maliki said, but the majority of ulama of fuqaha, that 10 months, 1 year. If you have 1 year old, animal, ram, it's okay, or goat, and if you don't have goat, you move to cow. You don't have cow, you move to camel. So for cow, for ram, at least must be 1 year, the minimum, and for goat, it must be in its 2nd year. For cow, it must be in the 3rd or 4th year, some say. For camel, it must be in the fifth or sixth year, some others say. But if you have one, the one that if you have is more than enough for you to sacrifice this, to satisfy the sunnah. You can satisfy the sunnah by eating part of it, sharing part of it with the poor, and keeping part of it for some days as you may wish. If you like, you can give all to the poor too. So let's you acquire that. Let's remember the poor on this very important day like what we do in the month of Ramadan and on Eid al-Fitr. Those that cannot have, those that can afford it, let them remember those among us who cannot afford it. And do not undermine what you can give. No matter how little the portion that you can give is, make sure that you give something and you give it for the sake of God. So if you do it like that, where the social dimension will be very much how do you call it, demonstrated, because it is like all people coming together to make everybody happy. Those that have it themselves, they make themselves happy because they can provide for themselves. But because they share part of it with the poor, they make the poor happy.
Also,
so you see the whole of society, the whole of society will be jubilating, and the whole of society will be happy, and the whole of society will be in a festive mood. Wallahu a'lam.
On that note, Dr. Abubakar Senghor, Interim Dean Faculty of Law at the University of the Gambia, let me seize this opportunity once again to thank you for talking to us on Exploring Islam on Eid al-Adha or Tobaski, which is just few days from now. And I say to all the Muslims, Kulli amin wa antum bihayri.
Thank you very much. I also say the same thing to all Muslims in this country, including the President, the Islamic Council, the Imams, and everybody, to Grts, Kullu am antum bikhair. Assalamu alaikum.
That's all the time we have for you in this edition of Exploring Islam. Until next week, I'm Aisha Tufai wa akhiru dawana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Kaf ha ya ayn sad. ذكر رحمة ربك عبده زكريا إذ نادى ربه نداء خفيا قال رب إني وهن العظم مني واستعل الرأس شيبا ولم أكن بدعائك رب
For many decades, development was an illusion to the people of the Gambia. Now it's a reality felt by each and every Gambian, visible in every corner of the country